Hello, writer lovers, and welcome back to Max Talks About Writing Advice. Today I want to sit down to talk about a really quick question that I got recently. And it revolves heavily with the idea of characters needing to be flawed in order to be relatable. And my thoughts on that. Before I go anywhere though, allow me to give you the formal disclaimer and remind you that the following is merely just my advice, my opinion, and what worked for me. Don't take it as gospel, instead take it as my particular point of view on this issue. Or writing aspect. I don't think exactly that it is an issue, but you get the idea. One of the things that I hear a lot in writing advice forums and tweets that I get or people that ask me questions is the idea that characters need to be flawed in order to be relatable. I have to assume that this has picked up a lot of friction because it's easy to assume that a person who doesn't have weaknesses or flaws is unrelatable. Now, I think there is a little bit of truth behind this, but we can arrive at a better conclusion if we just dig down a little deeper. That, and I do kind of have issues with the idea of just giving a character negative traits for the sake of, for lack of a better term, get pity points from the reader. Double that and the other issue that I generally have with the concept of giving a character negative traits, which tends to revolve around a very close-minded idea of what a negative trait is, such as not socially accepted ideas like a character being shy, or not being traditionally pretty, or having addictions, which of course are not as straightforward as one would entail. I think there's a better way to go about doing things. Something that can make a character endlessly more relatable than them having negative traits. So what makes a character more relatable than who they are? What they do. Their choices, or more importantly, their wrong choices. Allow me to explain. I find that a lot of writers seem to be afraid of letting their characters take wrong actions. Now, I'm not talking over picking the red pill over the blue pill, or whichever is the one that lets you stay in the Matrix. Sorry, I haven't seen the Matrix in like 5 years. What I'm talking about is a character acting out of the most raw human emotions. Anger, sadness, sorrow, selfishness, greed, and making mistakes, acting rationally, and acting out of passion. To me, those are the most relatable things a character can do, because often we get to see it through their own point of view and through their eyes, and we get to understand why they make a choice like that. Now, I don't know about you, but I can't relate to perfect people, not because they don't have flaws. I don't relate to perfect people because they don't make mistakes. So, you want my best advice for making characters relatable? Don't be afraid to let them make mistakes. Let your characters act out of anger and sadness and sorrow and selfishness and greed and cruelty, because those are the little demons in the back of our minds, and we all know that given enough reason, we could listen to those little demons and make awful mistakes. I hope that helps, and I hope that, if anything, it has given you another point of view to look at the idea of creating well-balanced characters. Again, I don't feel that it's entirely grounded on the idea of having flaws. I think more importantly than that is about characters making mistakes, taking rash actions, and acting out of the most raw human emotions, like anger and sadness, and greed and selfishness and despair, because we can all become that. And I think the fear of ending in the most raw of emotions is something that we can all relate to, and it is something that we all deal with, primarily in the society that we live in and in our moments of weakness. So consider that another piece of character advice. As always, I want to thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and subscribe if you want more. And as always, if you would like even more writing advice, you can head over to my writing advice blog over at maxkieran.tumblr.com. If you have questions of your own, feel free to leave them in the comments below. I may do a mini-series on character advice, and if you would like that to happen, leave your questions related to character advice down below. As always, thank you for watching, thank you for spending a little bit of your day with me, and I hope to be seeing you soon! Mwah! And now for an outro editorial. For those of you who follow me on Twitter, and you should follow me on Twitter if you want to just toss questions at me, that is the fastest way to get to me. Seriously. I answer like 10 times as many questions as I do on Twitter than I do on Tumblr, because it's just a matter of 140 characters to answer your question. It may not be as detailed, but hey, you get the question like that, or the answer like that. Now, in this editorial, I want to talk about a little bit about the concept of, flawed characters. I've been reading the Harry Potter books, and book 5 was a very special book for me. And that is primarily because the quality of the writing, because really, seriously, books 1 through 4 of Harry Potter are so full of adverbs that it's entirely distracting. It's still enjoyable, yes, but it's kind of hard to ignore it when every other sentence has an adverb in it. It's a little bit problematic, but book 5 is like light speed ahead. It's so much better written. But the thing that got me the most is the way Harry Potter was written, and the fact that this is the book that Kitty kept warning me about. This is the angry teenage Harry Potter book, and it was so well written. It really was. And it's funny because I've read a lot of complaints from people who thought that like Harry Potter was like too much of an angry teenager, and I mildly disagree on the fact that that's a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. I think it showed his character at the right moment in his life, and it was a really good moment, especially when Harry realizes the sort of person his father was, and the fact that there's symmetry between him and his father, both being slightly angry, problematic teenagers with magic powers, and that's okay, it's fine. It made him so much more relatable because he had these raw human emotions. He was angry that people were keeping secrets from him. He was angry that he didn't have the ability to protect his friends, and he was angry that things just seemed out of his hands. He made him endlessly relatable, and that made that book so much more fun for me. And trust me, when I finished The Goblet of Fire, being book 4, and it took me a long while to finish that book, I was like, oh my god, there's 3 more books of this. I hope that, the writing gets a little bit better, because trust me, those adverbs were starting to kill me. And, when I got to book 5, and I finished book 5 like 2 nights ago, and I was like, yeah, wow, that was a really good book. A little bit more on the dense size, but, I was entirely willing to go for that. And it was really enjoyable seeing Harry Potter in a moment of weakness, and by a moment of weakness, I mean being angry out of his mind, out of the things that are happening to him, and that's relatable. I think we can all relate to being angry from things that are out of our control. I think that was really effective. So consider this another great reminder that character is not about flaws and about having weaknesses and negative traits. It's more effectively about the choices they make and about the way that they interact with the world, and sometimes taking those raw, awful human feelings and let them come out into the forefront. I hope that helps.